everybody, welcome back. It's Steve Fretzin, and you are listening to the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. Twice a week, we're here. We're up on Above the Law, if you check that site out, and that's pretty exciting stuff. And also, we are writing for Above the Law and also Attorney at Law magazine. So you could check out some of our podcast blogcasts on Attorney at Law magazine in that space. And so we're here to help you be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. Blake, are you a confident, organized, skilled rainmaker?
I'd like to think so, Steve.
Okay. You wouldn't be on the show if you weren't those three things. So welcome to the show, man. It's so good to see you. And I'm always so impressed by you. And in particular, that you really, you know how to dress and you know how to like go out and have a good time. I mentioned earlier, I'm kind of stalking you on Facebook and hope that's okay.
I don't mind at all. I don't mind. I appreciate the kind words.
All right, as long as I don't do any like ridiculous comments on your posts, I think you'll be all right, right? Nothing too embarrassing. Well, I'm just so happy that you're here. Blake is not only a friend, he's part of my Rainmaker Roundtables, which he's been an unbelievable, wonderful part of. And I want to get into that a little later, but let's talk about our quote of the show. And I think you have a Gandhi quote that you sort of changed up a bit, but let's find out. It's be the change you want to see. So welcome to the show and talk to us a little bit about Gandhi.
Sure. First of all, I want to appreciate you taking the time to have me on here today. It's a pleasure to be here. Finally, I've seen so many wonderful podcasts you've done, so it's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
But yeah, be the change you want to see. The actual quote from Gandhi is "Be the change you wish to see in the world," and I've always found it to be very inspiring, and it's something I try to instill in my team. I'll give you a quick example. When I've got a team member of the firm that says, I don't like X, I don't like Y, I say, okay, you don't like that. Be the change you want to see. Act like the leader, act like the individual, act like the member of the team that you want to see in others. And I try and adhere to that principle myself. I try and repeat it. It's like my mantra to a lot of my team members. Be the change you want to see. If I want to see better communication at the firm, it starts with me. I need to make that change, because if you start modeling good behavior, best behavior, other people, more than likely than not, they're going to pick up on it. They're going to model it, and they're going to take after you. Hopefully.
Yeah, I totally get that. The other, and I think it also shows you not only as authentic, but also that you're not just preaching but not practicing. I think if you're someone that claims to be a great networker and a great giver, and you're not, you're just talking like you are, and but you're not really demonstrating by example, then people are going to see through that, I think, fairly quickly.
Yeah, lead by example. That's another great, principle I try and adhere to.
Whose quote was that? Lead by example.
Oh.
We don't know.
Come on, you're putting me under the hot box here. Come on.
Well, listen, that's part of my job is to give people a hard time. Wait a second, that's my teenager's job. That's not my job. So listen, Blake, I just so appreciate you being here. And for everybody listening, Blake Strautins is a friend, and he's a managing partner of Clover Law Group. And give us a little bit of background, because you didn't always run this firm, but you've sort of worked your way through as a top-notch lawyer, and now you're not only lawyering, but you're also managing this great firm.
Yeah, I'll give you the quickest summary I can. So I actually started my career clerking for a boutique class action litigation firm on the plaintiff side, and spent the first 7 years of my practice doing nationwide class action litigation, focused on a lot of data breach litigation, consumer fraud. So that was the first 9 years, including 2 years clerking of my legal profession. And one day I just, I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I was getting up every day and I'm like, man, I don't love what I do. And so that's when I made the switch to Clover Law Group back in 2014 as an associate, and then slowly worked my way up to partner. And then now, lo and behold, it's 2025. God, time flies. I've been with the firm for 11 years now, and now I'm one of the managing partners and co-owners of the firm.
Yeah. So let's take another walk back on back through history, and were there things as you were coming up as a young lawyer, as an associate, that you wish you had done differently? I mean, what are some of the, not regrets, but the things that you've sort of identified and said, oh, that was a dumbass move, or that was something I probably should have avoided? Anything jump out at you? Hey, everybody, I know you're enjoying this interview. To hear more just like this, check out all of the podcasts on our website. Link is in the description below.
you can avoid calling them regrets. I'll call them regrets. The
Okay.
number one thing I wish I would have started doing sooner was networking and business
Mm.
development. I didn't realize how important it was when I was doing class actions. Clients would be friends and family that had an issue with a large company or something like that, where they've been wronged somehow. And I wasn't really in the mindset of building relationships with business owners, with other attorneys, et cetera, outside of my focus completely. And I didn't start doing business development until, God, I was probably 34 years old, I want to say. So I started really late in my career. But I hit the ground hard. I decided one day this is something that's important and I want to do it and I want to do it well. And I was out there pounding the pavement. I had, usually 3 meetings a week. I was going to every event I could, meeting everyone I could, and learning how to be a good relationship builder, a good developer of strategic relationships, strategic partnerships. Had a lot of failures along the way, a lot of, let's just say, meetings that, hi, nice to meet you. I don't think this is ever going to produce anything for either of us. But I've always been the relationship-minded person, the pay-it-forward approach, and not everyone has that. Not everyone has that framework, that mindset, and you learn to quickly realize who fits that mold and who doesn't. But I tell you, it took years before I got there.
Yeah.
But I look back at that. I look back at the journey and how long it took me to start building a client base and bringing on business. And it's like, man, if I'd only started sooner. And I tell every young attorney that now that I meet, start now, start building those relationships early and often, and it's going to do nothing but pay off down the road.
Yeah. I mean, I start off my second book is the Attorney's Networking Handbook. And I think I start off saying, no one has wasted more time networking than I have. Like I right out of the gate was like crapping all over myself because I made so many mistakes and I was meeting with the Avon lady. I was meeting with the Amway salesman. I'm getting pulled into multi-tier marketing schemes. I met with a guy for 3 hours who tried to sell me PR services at 5 or 10 grand a month. I had just started my business. Like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on? I wasn't networking effectively. I started buying things from people. So like I'm buying, pens and hats and mugs and I'm buying insurance and just like anything to try to, make a relationship and help people out. But it was, I think the hard knocks is the way most people learn. My hope is that like, if I could have done it again, I should have spent more time reading books and watching things and paying attention to what best practices are versus just hitting the ground running and just like, just sheer effort and force to try to get it done, which is kind of what it sounds like you and I both did.
Well, I tell you what, there's one thing that I also did that I don't know if I've ever told you this. It's how I met you actually. Is you were putting on a lot of programs for the CBA and other organizations, and I attended because I was interested. I wanted to learn how to be, a better networker, a better business developer, and I learned a lot from you early on, whether you know it or not. You were out there, and we've kind of come full circle now with the relationship we've developed over the years. And it's like when I was just getting started, though, I was listening to your tips and tricks. So.
All right. Okay. Well, listen, everybody. Now we're talking. Ego effectively stroked at this point. All right. Appreciate it. But again, that's there's so many different ways to build business. Networking is one. Getting out there and providing CLEs and providing presentations on your expertise. Writing. I mean, there's just a lot of different ways to go. But I think networking for young lawyers is the easiest entry point. And what I try to do is say, hey, go into it with a plan. Go into it not to just go out like you and I did, where we meet everybody and exhaust a tremendous amount of time and energy. Let's think about it strategically, right? Who are the best strategic partners and where are they? Who are the clients we can work with directly in our practice area? Where are they? How am I going to approach them? What questions am I going to ask? There's all these things that I'm now teaching that I didn't know 22 years ago or whatever, that I think make people a lot more efficient with their time, which is pretty important to young lawyers who are hustling to just learn to be lawyers.
But I would qualify that with, because don't be too discerning on who you meet with. And I'll give you
Okay.
a
All right.
quick example.
Yeah. I think when you're starting
I
out, that's something fair to say. Yeah.
I was scheduled to meet somebody. Connected me with Eric Lazar, who's a fantastic guy. He owns a printing business in the South Loop, and I said to myself, "What? Why am I meeting with a guy who runs a sign company? What's the point of this?
Yeah.
This is going to go nowhere. This is going to be absolutely worthless." And it was one of the best meetings I've ever had in my entire career. He was warm. He was welcoming. We had a ton in common. And he knew so many people and was so warm and generous with making introductions for me. And I said, I've told him many times over the years, I thought I was crazy meeting with you. And it turned out you were one of the nicest people I've ever met. And
Yeah.
you just never know. You never
Yeah.
know until you sit down and talk with someone. So you might have a lot of those stumbles, but you also might make a lot of good friends and good connections and build relationships that had you not gone and sat down and had that cup of coffee, you would have never known.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and let's not also take for granted that there are people who what we would consider to be centers of influence that just know everybody and can really move you around in different circles. And so, I think what happens is initially you want to try to go out and network and build a wide network, right? Because you need to know a lot of people and you need to be well known. And I think that while you're doing that, the effort would be to also try to build something deep with people that are specifically in a position to refer you business. Because while everybody can think of you, not everybody's like personal injury. How often am I running into a personal injury, situation where I can refer a lawyer directly, right? It's probably once a year, once every 2 years. Okay. However, if I meet with someone that can refer a person like a chiropractor that I can refer to a personal injury attorney and they refer 10 a year, well, then that was a pretty good meeting to take because that now I've connected someone with an individual who has the ability to produce a lot more for that personal injury attorney. So I think there's
Absolutely.
that play. Yeah. So let me ask you this. There's building the business, right? The rainmaking and the networking and things we have to do. And how are you transitioning from really diving into that to then, continuing to do that while you're also then in a management role? Because that's the trick is like we talk about this in our roundtable groups, like how difficult it is to wear too many hats.
It's a work in progress. I'll say that. But getting better every day.
Yeah.
It's nobody really teaches you, especially lawyers, how to run a business, and that's the one critical skill that I wish more law schools would teach young students is how do you actually run a business? Because you can learn the law, you can write great briefs, you can research the heck out of something, but running a business completely different. Managing people completely different. Being a good manager, a good leader. Those are skills that sadly they just don't teach you. And I wish they did. I wish there was more classes and more courses on that because they are critical to being a successful attorney and a successful leader down the road. But thankfully, I've had a lot of great mentors over the years. I've learned a lot of things to do to be a better, manager of the firm. I've also learned a lot of things not to do. Right? Probably more things not to do than to do. You see bad management practices from various individuals, across your career, et cetera. And you say to yourself, I often say to myself, I'm never going to do that. If I'm ever in that position, I'll never treat that person that way. I'll never act like that. And that's helped me become a better manager for a law firm as well. We've when I took over the firm in 2020, so going on 4.5 years now, we said we want to change the culture. And boy, was it hard. I mean, because we had to start from the ground up. We had to think, okay, we've got all these people that are stuck in this mindset. What do we want to see, 2, 3 years from now? How do we get there? What do we have to change? What people do we need to replace? More often than not, you're going to have toxic people in the firm that you're going to see and you're going to identify and realize, what, they're just not a good fit for our culture, for who we want to be. And it's taken years, and we've got a fantastic team now because we've taken the steps, and some of them were really hard and challenging to build a team of people that have, they're on the same page. It's the teamwork mindset, and it's not always easy to do that. And I'm very fortunate to be in the position I am to be able to shape that culture, but not everyone is. And I'm sure a lot of attorneys out there wish they had better managing partners. They wish leadership was better. They had better mentors, et cetera. And I go back to the quote we started with, be the change you want to
Yeah.
see. I cannot encourage people enough. Act the way you would if you were running the firm, no matter what your role is. Just be that person, be that leader, be that individual. And I think, more often than not, you're going to rub off on others, whether it's, above the chain, below the chain, whatever. People that want to change are going to see that and be like, hey, maybe that's a better way to act, a better way to handle a situation.
Yeah. It's like there's a piece of paper on the floor in the hallway and lawyers are just walking by it. Nobody's taking the time to pick it up and throw it out or see what it is. Um,
One of my old bosses called that the steaming pile.
the steaming
All the,
pile. Okay.
all the people that walk past the steaming pile, be the person that picks it up. How
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. I take my dog for a walk and there's sometimes some stuff and I go, come on. And I just, I add it to my existing pile.
Good for you. Good for
Yeah.
you.
I'm that guy.
We
I'm
need
that
more people
guy.
in the world like you.
Who needs to, someone's going to step in it and then they're going to be upset. What would be, because you mentioned culture and how you've really worked to try to develop a positive culture. Do you have an example of something that you did that really worked to help build that culture that you're happy about now? Hey everybody, hope you're enjoying the interview. If you want to hear more about what Fretzin does, check out our services page on our website, fretzin.com.
Accountability. That
Okay.
was probably the one thing that was lacking most when we took over the firm was a lack of accountability, where people got to do whatever they wanted, however they wanted to do it. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And we said no more. We're going to make people. We're going to hold them accountable. And if that means we've got to let some people go because they're not making the cut, they're not being a team player, so be it. And the moment we stand, and look, it was again not overnight. This took probably 2 or 3 years of holding people accountable, learning to hold people accountable. You go so long that it's almost second nature to act the way you've always acted, to go with the flow, and to change that. You're basically changing a cruise ship's course. Okay, it's not a sailboat. You can't just pivot on a dime. You got to slowly move it over time. It's not going to be overnight, but
Yeah.
accountability was really the one thing
Okay.
that we changed.
Yeah. And then now when you look to add someone to your team and bring in that new member, what are the attributes that you're looking for? How are you recruiting and interviewing and onboarding someone that allows them to fit into that culture, or maybe to either ensure that they're going to be a good fit or to help them fit in once they're there?
Yeah, some of the things we look for are you a team player first and foremost, because that's one attribute we've identified that
It's
if you're not a
like
team,
a core value of the firm is be a
yeah,
team player. Yeah.
be a team player, be a good person, be someone who is willing to get along with everyone. And if you can do that, and tolerate everyone's nuances and quirks and whatnot, we've all got them, right? Nobody's perfect. But if you can be that team player, that's priority one for us. Next would be people that are independent thinkers. I've always strive to hire people that are smart and can learn to get the job done. Like if I can teach you to do A and B, and you use A and B to learn how to do C, that's fantastic. Those are the people I want on my team. People that are capable of learning, people that are capable of seeing trends and learning how to work through problem solving. I think that's a fantastic skill set that is underrated. And we'll hire people that aren't. We'll look for paralegals. I'll tell you a great paralegal we have. I won't say her name because she'll be embarrassed. But she was a editor for. She was editing books as a side gig, and was working for a paint store, Sherwin-Williams. Came to interview with us for a paralegal position. Just got a paralegal degree, and I looked at her skill set. Editor, attention to detail, fantastic. She had a great mentality, a great mindset, and I said, let's give it a shot. What do we got to lose? And she's fantastic. She's wonderful. And sometimes it's thinking outside the box. Don't necessarily look at the work history they have, the work experience they have. Think about their skill set and how you can use that skill set to fill the need you have on your team. And it's been invaluable in terms of hiring because we found some real diamonds in the rough. My assistant that we hired came in to interview for a paralegal position, and her personality and her intelligence and the way she presented herself, she was so organized and so well spoken. And one of my other team leaders was messaging me while they're interviewing her, and they said, "You got to meet this girl. You got to meet this woman. I think she would be a great executive assistant," which we happened to be looking for at that time. Interviewed her, instantaneous. I'm like, "Yeah, she'd be awesome." And this was, I want to say, 2.5 years ago, and she's turned out to be one of the best hires we've made. She makes my life so much easier. She's wonderful. She's great. She's changed the firm in positive ways that I lose track of. So
Yeah.
you never know. But just look for those quality traits, and you're going to find some real diamonds in the rough.
Yeah. And it sounds like, over the course of this sort of adventure you've been on as managing partner that you've developed quite a bit of leadership skills. Is there a particular leadership? I mean, other than what we've shared, which is, be the change you want to see in developing culture, is there something that you've learned that you would share with other leaders or future leaders?
Honestly, learning to let go and delegation.
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick story. As you know, we were talking about it before we started. I had a bout of pneumonia to start the year. Happy New Year to me.
Yeah.
I was out. I was down for the count. I could look at emails on my phone, maybe send a quick reply. That was the extent of the energy I had to do anything. And this is something I've been trying to do for years. I'd been able to give away maybe 80% of my work. But that last 20%, I just couldn't let go. I was hanging on to it. It's like, I got to be the one to do it. No one else can do it, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I got hit with pneumonia and I'm out for the count. And I gave away all my work. I gave away, delegated every responsibility I had. And guess what? Everything was fine. It worked
Yeah.
out perfectly. And it's the number one thing, you've seen it too, that lawyers cannot handle is letting go. And it was so liberating. And since then, I've had one of the best years. I've been so happy. I have freed
Everybody
up my
should get
time.
pneumonia, I think is what you're saying, right?
Lost all my holiday weight. That was a great bonus too. But no, it's allowed me to spend this year really focusing on the things I want to focus on as a manager of the firm and developing business and growing the firm and improving the culture. The time I have for that now, because I've learned to let go. I've learned to delegate to the fantastic team I have. It's freed up so much time that I didn't have before. And I know you and I have talked about it over the years, that struggle I've had of finding that balance. And I feel like I'm finally, I'm clicking right now. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, it's very liberating to know that you've got specific roles that you can play or tasks that you can accomplish without being dragged into the minutia of administrative stuff or collections or marketing or just the day to day of, hey, I need to talk to you about this particular case or whatever. No, other people can handle it. You just got to let go.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. So let's wrap up because delegation is one of the most important skills a lawyer can use and leverage, whether you're a solo, bringing in your first VA, or you're developing a team executive assistant. What would be one or two other time management sort of tips or tricks that you found to be really useful for yourself?
So the number one tip I have, and I can give you a couple, is inbox management, email management. I've always been very good about doing that, and when I realized I was really good at it was when it was Walt Hampton came in and gave us a talk, and he talked about how to really effectively manage your inbox, and I'm like, holy crap, I do that already. So every email I get, I looked at my inbox today. I got 15 emails in there. That's it. I try and keep it as tight as possible because I live and breathe for my inbox. And every email that comes in, I say, does this require my attention? Is it something that I need to pay attention to, or is it some junk email, unsubscribe, junk, whatever? Get it out of the way. Is this something I can delegate? Is the next question I ask. So can someone else do it? Do I need to be the one to handle it?
Yeah.
If it's no, boom, off my radar. Is it something I can handle now? Sometimes it's just a quick email you can send where you can resolve this email within 2 minutes, quick answer, whatever, gone, out of your inbox. Or is it something I need to follow up on at a later date? And that's why I've got 15 emails in my inbox right now. Those are things that didn't have time when it came in. I can't delegate to someone else. It is important. I do need to work on it, but I'll get to it. And the important part is not letting that I'll get to it get too long, because we always do that. And that's how a lot of people get thousands of emails in their inbox, because they're like, I'll get to it later, and they never get to it. So it requires a lot of discipline. But I'd say the other aspect is just building a strong team. If you've got a trusted team of associates and paralegals and directors and administrative staff that you can rely on and trust to help you get your job done, that's invaluable. And it takes years to build them up. It takes years to train them. But once they're on the same page as you, you can give them just about anything. And I'm always trying to give new challenges to my paralegals, for instance. I'll give them documents. It's like, here, do the initial draft of this brief for me. And sometimes they look at me like what? You crazy? I'm like, no, I trust you. You're great. You know this. You've got this. You can do it. And guess what? They do a great job.
Yeah.
One less thing I got to do. So.
Right. Yeah. That's sort of the big aha moment, I think, for most lawyers is once you start realizing that your value in the practice of law, running a firm, whatever it might be, is way, way up here. $500 to $1,000 plus an hour, and then you realize that you're doing stuff that other people could do for 20 to 50 or $100 an hour, and yet you're still wrapped up in all that stuff. And
It's
it's
hard
not,
though. It's really hard to let go. I
yeah,
find myself even now, I'll be looking at, I'm going over my caseload with my paralegal and she's like, "Oh, we got to get this done." And the old me is like, "Oh, okay, when can I work on that?" And then all of a sudden I'm like, "Wait a second." The new me is saying, I know someone else. I don't need to do this.
yeah,
This is something else that someone else that they're more than capable of handling. I shouldn't be involved." And
yeah,
I try and take myself out of it. But again, old habits die hard. It takes, a lot of discipline to learn to say, no, I'm not going to work on this. No, I'm not going to draft this brief because I know someone else on my team is more than capable of doing
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Trust the new you, Blake, right?
I'm trying.
All right, there you go. Hey,
Working
let's
out so
wrap.
far.
So, I mean, so many great examples of how to be effective at developing business and running a firm and growing a firm and getting into a position of leadership where you can really take things to the next level. So I appreciate you sharing all that. And let's go on to our, and maybe this fits in right there, is the book of the game-changing book, Multipliers. I think that fits
Yeah.
in perfectly, right?
Yeah. And it was recommended to me by a mutual colleague of ours, Mike Kurzak, may he rest in
Mm-hmm.
peace.
Yeah.
Great personal injury attorney. Recommended this book called Multipliers by Liz Weissman. And he's like, "Oh, you got to read it." So I read it, and it was thoroughly life changing for me. And the premise of the book is unlocking and unleashing the potential of those around you, of your team, to allow them to be better, more effective team members. And conversely, making sure you're not a diminisher. So, what's a diminisher? A diminisher is someone who says, "Oh, I alone have to do this." Or they see a problem, they say, "I'm just going to fix it." Or someone asks them a question and they just give them the answer. A multiplier, on the other hand, is someone who, when you get asked a tough question by one of your team members, an associate, a paralegal, don't just give them the answer. Walk them through it. Be like, "Well, listen, okay, that's a good question. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that?" And try and get them to come to the answer on their own. Because the next time they've got a question like that, you're giving them the critical thinking skills to solve the problem without needing to come to you.
Yeah.
And thinking that only you can fix it, or you've got to be the only one speaking in a meeting. One of the great tips they give you is try to attend a meeting and not say a single word. Just listen. You know how challenging that is for a lot
uh,
of attorneys?
yeah, right. Yeah, you might as well.
Naturally, that's just who I am. I'm not a big, I don't need to hear myself talk. I hate it. I chime in when I feel it's necessary. So that
Yeah,
was an easy one, but it's amazing when you just listen to other people talk and don't give input, just ask questions and you'll learn so much. And people learn from you. When you're asking tough, challenging questions, you're almost, helping them put the light bulb goes on for them sometimes, where it's like,
yeah.
"Oh, well, yeah, now that I've answered that out loud, that's really the best way to handle it." So I highly recommend the book. Honestly, it was eye opening for me. I had my entire management team read it, and every month when we meet, we talk about one way we've been a multiplier in the last month, and one way we've been a diminisher. And even now, we've been doing that for 2 years now. I'm still finding ways that I'm being a diminisher, and I'm still trying to work on ways to do that. So,
Yeah.
being a better, more effective attorney and leader and manager, it's a never ending battle. You've always got to strive to do better.
All right, awesome. 30-second drill. We're going to nerd out together for 30 seconds. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, favorite Marvel character?
Wolverine.
Wolverine, why?
Well, he's right behind me.
He's got his claws out. If you don't say him, he's going to
he does.
kick
I've
you.
always been fascinated with him since I was a kid.
Yeah.
He's just, I've always loved the costume. He's been a gruff guy who just kind of does whatever he wants. And for whatever reason, that resonated with me as a kid. And to this day, I still love him.
All right, Bob. Um, Anybody that knows that. Okay. But yeah, he's fantastic. And you must have loved the last Deadpool movie. I mean, holy mackerel, you got a whole lot of Wolverine in there.
Oh, it gave me goosebumps. I was smiling the whole time. And
Yeah.
I said to myself, this is the Wolverine I've wanted to see on screen my entire life. As nerdy as
Awesome.
it is, I love that kind of stuff. And
All
it,
right.
it gave me a lot of joy.
I grew up with it as well in the Marvel and DC and comic books and stuff, and still continue to enjoy that stuff. It's just easy and
It
light
is. Yeah,
and
yeah.
fun.
Very fun.
So, hey man, thank you so much for coming on. Let's take a second just to thank our wonderful sponsors. Of course, PIMCon coming up in October for those personal injury attorneys that want a first class experience, and the Law Her podcast with Sonia Palmer doing a great job, continuing to produce great content, especially for women who are looking to get ahead in the legal space. So that might be for some of you to check out. And Blake, if people want to reach out to you, they want to come work for you and be a part of that culture and all that, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Sure. Just shoot me an email, bstrautins@kluverlawgroup.com. Check out our website, find my contact info there, kluverlawgroup.com.
Yeah.
Always willing to chat with folks, and even people that have questions about anything I've talked about. If you want to touch base, I'm happy to be a sounding board as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you. And look, I apologize for not having you on the show earlier. I guess you kind of sometimes my brain doesn't function properly, but you're definitely, I'm so happy that you accepted my invitation and were able to come on, share your wisdom. And it's just, I appreciate our relationship more than you know. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Hey, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this fabulous interview. If you want to check out more about what Fretzin does every day to help you be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker, please check out our services page on our website. Just go to the website, check it out. I know you'll enjoy it. Thanks.
Likewise, it's been a pleasure to be here, and appreciate it a lot, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. And hey, everybody, thank you for spending time with Blake today. Tons and tons of takeaways again, whether you're at a firm and you're still in a form of leadership, networking, time management, whatever it is you need to accomplish. You want to go and open up your own thing, or you're currently in that role. Lots and lots of things you can take away from today's show and every show. I mean, we're coming up on 500 pretty soon, and we're already past 5 years doing this. So that's it, man. All good stuff, everybody. Hey, be that lawyer. Confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. Take care, be safe, be well. Talk again soon.